Welcome to Permission Slips, a space for you to practice paying attention to your life with self-compassion and kindness, so you can experience the wholeness, purpose, and joy you were made for. I'm Jillian DeBritz, a life and leadership coach and a recovering perfectionist, learning alongside you how to give myself permission to be human. I am so glad that you're here with me today for this conversation with today's guest, Mandy Arioto. Mandy is the CEO and president of the MomCo, and I just want to share her bio really quick so Mandy people can know who you really are. She is widely known for her unique takes on evangelism, parenting, and cultural issues through MomCo, which every year mobilizes millions of women and partners with tens of thousands of churches. Mandy serves as the voice of one of the most influential outreach organizations in the U.S. and around the world. She's the author of 3 books, the most recent being Have More Fun, How to Be Remarkable, Stop Feeling Stuck, and Start Enjoying Life. An avid rock climber, Mandy and her husband, Joe, live in Denver, Colorado with their 3 kids. Mandy, welcome to Permission Slips.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. Mandy and I connected several months ago at a MomCo dinner where I was able to meet her through my friend Michelle, who serves with you on the MomCo National Board. And it's just been so fun to hear from her about you and your unique leadership style over the past year that she's served alongside you. And one of the things that I have heard her say over and over and over again, and I know I'm not throwing her under the bus because she would be completely fine with me sharing this, is how you are completely and authentically yourself wherever you lead, which I don't know if there's any higher compliment.
Yeah,
as a
that's
leader.
huge. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Can you talk about, just your leadership role, what you do with the MomCo at this point, and then maybe kind of take us back to your journey that brought you to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have the privilege of being the CEO of the MomCo. We work in 112 countries, 30 different languages, and I've been in this role for a decade now, for 10 years. And what we do is we just gather moms and resource them to be the best moms that they can be, to talk about faith and marriage and all the things that are really sensitive and close to our hearts. And so we really value honest conversation and creating places where women can feel seen and known.
Yeah.
Before I joined the MomCo, I was working at a church in Southern California on the teaching team. And then before that, I was an entrepreneur. And so I've had this very eclectic career. But the interesting thing is when I got invited to MomCo, my kids were little and a friend invited me and I was like, mom groups aren't really my thing. But I trusted my friend and I showed up and it became the safest place in the world. And about a year later, MomCo reached out to me and said, hey, will you come out and join our staff? And I turned them down and I said no. And then that night I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt that I heard God say to me, you need to go and you need to go now. And so 9 days later, my husband and I were driving out in a U-Haul. We didn't have a place to live. We didn't know any plans. Like, we were not prepared, but we knew God asked us to go. And so he's like calling rental properties on our way out. But it was the best decision that we didn't know that we were going to make. And it kind of just set us up for this grand adventure that we've been on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I just say 9 days? When you heard the Lord say, now, you took that very literally. That is not a quick turnaround.
Yeah, it was, and it didn't make any sense. Our family, our community, our friends, and that's the cool part about my husband too. And he's like, yeah, okay, let's do this, without a lot of conversation needing to happen around it.
Okay, so you moved to Colorado, sight unseen, 9 days after kind of getting that that message from the Lord. What was it like to transition from, okay, no, I don't want to work for this company. I don't want to work for the MomCo. Or I guess it was MOPS International at that point before the rebrand, to like, okay, I guess I want to be here and I want to stay and I want to invest. What was the heart shift like for you in that process?
Yeah, when I knew that this is where we were supposed to be, it was like an all-in there was excitement, there was just this recognition of the potential. And I feel so passionate about women and women leaders and moms and the power of moms. And so I was just, I mean, I think for the first year I was running on adrenaline, just so pumped to get to drive into work every day and to get to do the things that I was presented with. So
Uh,
it was kind of just like this shift, like, okay, here we go. And we're
yeah.
hitting the ground running.
Yeah. What makes you so passionate about women and leadership and specifically moms? What do you love about supporting them?
So, without a doubt, I've gotten to do a lot of fun things throughout my life, but the thing that I care most about, the most rewarding thing, is being a mom. And it's so transformative across the board, from your body to how you view your role in the world to your legacy. And so I just think motherhood is this underrated, transformative life experience that we kind of just take for granted. And not only that, I just see the power of moms every day. I mean, moms control 85% of household purchases. What we forget is that moms control the entire financial market, if we're being honest. Like,
Totally.
our spending power is more than France, Italy, and Canada's GDP. So, and yet nobody talks about it and nobody really gives it as much credit
Is that
as
true, that statistic? That's fascinating.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And the UN says if you want to raise a community out of poverty, the single best way to do that is to resource the moms. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I mean, I could tell you stat after stat after stat of how moms are shaping the world and communities and their homes in unrecognized ways. And that's what
Yeah.
I think the power is we do all this work. We do all this like intentional planning. We form how our kids are growing and the trajectory of really communities, and it's all really unseen and unacknowledged. And I think there's a lot of power there.
Okay, let's talk about that because in so many ways, being unseen, unacknowledged, feeling invisible, whether that's in individual relationships or in a family structure or in larger culture, that's really painful. It's really one of my greatest pain points is feeling invisible in different places of my life. What do we do with that as moms? What's the impact of feeling that unseen experience for moms? And how do we, or maybe how do you as a leader, hope to draw that work into a greater visibility?
Yeah, that's a good question. You might have a better answer for it than I do. I think sometimes what I see is a lot of us live in stories that are untrue. And one of those is that we're unseen. Because the truth is, we are seen by our kids, who what we do is their whole life. Like their
Yeah.
entire life is what we do.
Hmm.
We're seen by our neighbors. We're seen by the person at the grocery store who checks us out. We're seen by our fellow drivers. And so I think sometimes we think being seen means you have to have, 1 million followers and be doing public work. And actually, I don't think that is being seen at all. Those people don't know you. They see like this much of you, and that's like a fake version of you.
Hmm.
And so I call it like the 20 likes conundrum, where if you post something on social media and you get 20 likes, you're like, that was a huge failure. That's so embarrassing. Like, maybe I should take that post down. But if 20 people came up to you in real life and were like, that is such a great outfit. Oh my gosh, I love that. You would be like, this was the best day ever. My life has
Right.
changed. I'm wearing this outfit every single day. And so I think sometimes it's like reframing for ourselves that our life, our worlds, is actually really profound, and we're shaping a lot of things, even though if our metrics are a little off, when we recalibrate those, I think we've
Hmm.
gained so much life back.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're pushing back on the impact of being seen or what it actually means to be seen, because you're right. There are witnesses to our life, our kids, our neighbors. And, like on a spiritual level, we're seen by God.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who that matters to our spiritual journey, to know that if no one else sees and values what we're doing, that the God who made us sees us and values and honors this unseen hidden work. And that for me, that was such a hugely formative part of motherhood. and I'm still a mom. My kids are in middle school now, but that season, I spent just over a decade as a full-time stay-at-home mom. It was like stripping away all of these parts of my identity that I thought were who I was based on how others experienced me, the affirmation that they gave me, it wasn't necessarily likes at that point in my life on Instagram, but it was, I wanted to have a public impact outside of my home where people saw that I was competent and had skills, had, leadership potential, had value to offer in a way that others saw and validated. And so maybe when I'm thinking about being seen or unseen, it's more about like the validation or the feedback that we're getting from other people. And moms don't really get a ton of feedback or thanks for the work that they're doing. So when you think about what you're trying to do through your work with the MomCo, what does this organization do to help moms in those unseen hidden places?
Yeah, I think, part of what we do is bringing moms together. And that's
Hmm.
one of the most powerful things is when you sit down with a handful of other moms and they're like, oh my gosh, me too, right? Those are some of
Yeah.
the most powerful words that we can share with each other. It's like, oh yeah, that I'm totally
Yeah.
experiencing the same thing when we think we're
Yeah.
the only ones. That to me is the power of what we do. It's just bringing women together in small groups and seeing each other and sharing our stories and talking about the things that we're embarrassed to say out loud. And
Yeah.
then suddenly everyone else looks around and is like, oh, yeah, you're fine. Like that's
Yeah.
happening in our family too.
I love
So,
that theme that we talked about before we started recording for the year this year in MomCo was make it awkward, right?
mhm.
Can you talk about like why make it awkward? What's the value of making things awkward?
Yeah, it's like the least valuable, like, I don't know, hype theme ever because it's so uncomfortable. But it really came from a story of when I was growing up. I grew up with a dad who was a great guy. He was hardworking and reliable, but he never once told me he loved me. And when I was in college, I had like mustered up the courage to have a conversation with him about it. And right before I was able to have a conversation with him, he passed away unexpectedly. He went out for a run and had a heart attack and died. And a few weeks after his memorial service, I was talking with my mom and I asked her, I was like, hey, do you know my dad never told us that he loved us, us kids, my brother and I? And she was like, it's because his dad never told him he loved him. And so he felt like it was awkward. And then as more time went by, it was even more awkward. And I thought about that and I was like, you know what? The first time my dad would have told me that he loved me, it would have been super awkward. And the second time he told me he loved me, it would have been awkward. And then the third time, he would have just been a dad who tells his kid he loves her.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
think there's so many experiences in our life where we resist the thing that's going to set us free because
Mhm.
it's a little uncomfortable for a minute. Or we're like, oh, that's not who I am. That's not what I do. Well, why? Why are you letting some arbitrary boundary keep you enslaved when if you just take a little step that makes everybody uncomfortable for a minute and then suddenly everybody's free and your kids feel loved and you don't have that generational baggage on you anymore. And so that's really the heart behind Make It Awkward is do that thing that feels uncomfortable, whether it's like initiating sex with your partner or whatever it is. You know how sometimes it gets weird and you're like, ugh, and it feels weird for a second to initiate. It's like all those things that are built into life when we just go for it, suddenly the power over it is completely gone.
Yeah. Well, and I think about how the more and more we practice doing things that feel awkward, that feel uncomfortable, it's like we strengthen our tolerance for the discomfort or anxiety that comes with not knowing how things are going to turn out or not knowing how it's going to feel. But the more we do that and survive, the more courage we're going to have the next time to know, oh, I can be brave. I can be vulnerable and I'm going to be okay. And not only okay, but maybe I'll actually feel more connected to the people that I'm sharing with or that I'm initiating with or pursuing because of that vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I read a
Yeah.
study recently and it was about what forms deep friendship. And the second determiner of like how you can build bonds with someone quickly is to experience an awkward moment together. And I just love that so much. It's like accelerates friendship by
Yeah.
a multitude of years when you have like a weird experience. And I was like, that's so great that
Oh my
we just have
gosh.
to get a little uncomfortable, and it accelerates our friendship that much
Right.
faster.
Which isn't that counterintuitive? It's like all of us want to avoid those awkward
Yeah.
experiences. Like we do everything we can to not embarrass ourselves.
Like, I think about all the experiences in my life. Like, I remember one time I walked out of the bathroom and like my dress was tucked up into my undies, and this lady like was like, "Oh my gosh," and like helped me. And then the rest of the night we were like in it
Mm-hmm.
together, right? Because of that one silly thing. And then
Totally.
it was like a wedding weekend. And so all wedding weekend, we were now friends. So it's just
Hmm.
like, it just takes a little bit of vulnerability, and
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
so much potential.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking about, again, the thing that saved my life as a mom when I felt so alone, so crazy. Constantly was judging myself for feeling like a failure. It's that recovering perfectionist. I had these expectations of what it meant to be a good mom, wherever that came from. And I was constantly letting myself down. And so to have women who, yeah, it was really awkward the first time we gathered together in one of our living rooms with our kids playing, to the side, eating their goldfish and interrupting every 5 minutes. But I remember one mom, it was probably me first, but we all took turns with just snot running down our face, and crying those tears. It's like it's not polite tears anymore. It's like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And I don't know if I'm going to be okay. And to have a group of other women in that awkward moment of vulnerability stay in the room and not run away with judgy looks on their faces or like, you're too much for me, but to have that felt embodied experience of people staying and leaning in, it healed that fear of being too much. It healed that fear of, oh, there's something wrong with me. And I just love that invitation for moms to make it awkward. Before we wrap up, is there a permission slip that you would want to give to the women listening?
Oh, good question. This is true for men or women, but I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say it in the context of women.
Mm-hmm.
Wear red lipstick. And I don't mean it in like you need to go out and like actually wear red lipstick, but it's like do something that makes you uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
because it changes up your whole life in a weird way.
Uh-huh.
I've always been like a super natural girl, and I'm like no makeup and only natural products. And a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the JFK and Carolyn Bessette love story,
Uh-huh.
obviously.
Clearly, why wouldn't you?
And so I was like, I have to wear red lipstick now because obviously. And I felt like a whole new woman. And I think sometimes we discount how one little change up and it's like, oh, I'm not a red lip kind of gal. Well, now I am a red lip kind of gal, and I'm like a whole
Yeah,
new
you are.
person. So I think just like take a risk, do one
I
thing that
love
feels
that.
out of, like my husband grew his hair out and now he looks like a ninja samurai and he's so hot. But like for 45 years, he would never have thought about growing his hair out and wearing a man bun every day. But it's like he's a whole new man. So
I
change
love
it up a
that.
little bit.
And that sounds fun too. Changing things up, taking
Yeah.
risks sounds like a great time. So, Mandy, it's been so fun to be with you this morning. And I'm curious if you have any words of encouragement or wisdom for these Ellensburg moms that are listening today.
Ellensburg.
Come on.
Okay. I love it. Um, well, Jillian and I talked about something today, and it's like my life motto. And I will just say that I think the most powerful thing that we can do to change up our lives and to remember who we are and to feel like we are reminded of who God created us to be is to have more fun.
Yes,
Um, I just think it is so powerful. And when we incorporate our kids and our husband, the energy in our home shifts, we just get to see life from a new perspective. And so my charge would be to go out today and do something that's fun, not that other people think is fun, that you think is fun.
I love that.
That's the big differentiator.
And if you don't know something that sounds fun to you right now, just try something, right?
Absolutely. Go for a bike ride, try watercolor, bake something, paint your nails a different color,
Wear red lipstick.
wear red lipstick. Absolutely.
Oh, Mandy, this has been so fun. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and for everything that you're doing to support women and moms internationally. It's a joy to learn from you.
So grateful for this time. Thanks.
I hope this conversation gives you permission to think about ways to make it awkward in order to stretch yourself and invite the people around you into greater connection. Remember, your life matters, and so do the places you're leading. visible or not. More than you know.